Hey y'all, how y'all doing? So, kind of a member of a group on Facebook. It's the Home Farm Ideas. Cool guy by the name of Matt started that up. He does a YouTube channel also. But anyhow, I had a few questions about rabbits, and I've been doing them for, well, I don't know. It was about 8 years. I was about 8 years old when I got into them, so I guess I've been doing them for 30 years, off and on. This group I've had for probably about 5 years. It seems like, you know, each time I move or get really busy, I go ahead and sell them off, and I restock. But what I have right here, these are New Zealand whites. They are around a 10-pound rabbit, fully matured, and really just a good meat rabbit, and they make a nice pet too. These are my 2 bucks on those, and then I do have an extra buck, which is my little lop over here. He's a crossbreed or something, but he puts off some really neat babies. And one of the things I wanted to go over was pins. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit low, so anyway, or short. The pin should be 24 inches by 24 inches. These are kind of what you get at store-bought pins, and I got these at Poultry Swap, or, you know, swap meet. But they're 24 inches square, and they're only about 16 inches tall. That's more than enough room for a good-sized rabbit. This is one of my does. She's kind of a mean doe, but I keep her because she's a really good mama. But anytime she has babies, she gets very aggressive. As you'll see, there's 1 rabbit in each cage until you get down here to the end cage. Now these 3, the reason they get along and they haven't killed each other is they was all siblings off the one of the mamas, and so, you know, they just get along fine. They are at a butchering stage right now, so, you know, that will be happening here pretty quick. Sorry to say, but I don't have anything on the farm that doesn't give back to me in one way or another. I do sell live rabbits as well, but the pen you're looking at right here, now this was an old dog kennel. My wife had a friend that raised dogs. She got out of it. She went over and took it apart and put partitions in it and stuff, and just done a really good job on making a big pen, and the 2 end cages down here on each side. As you can see, there are ducks on the other side, but this is actually 2 cages. Go over here on this side, you can see them. Partition in the middle, and these are my growing out cages. This is kind of what, when they've been weaned from mama, which is, you know, 4 or 6 weeks or so, when they start eating food real good, I move them over to that pen and grow them out. But I move them in groups. I don't mix and match the groups. Even though at that little of an age, they would probably get along fine and get used to each other. The problem with mixing is rabbits are territorial. Rabbits will fight one another. Not only will does fight, bucks will fight does will fight bucks. Some hints on breeding, like I'm fixing to stick her over with one of the bucks, and the thing about it is, if I stick her in there, within 5 minutes he will go ahead and breed, and there's no mistaking whenever they have completed the breeding cycle. A lot of times rabbits will do a long cycle of humping, but when a rabbit has actually completed the process, it will totally flip over on its side and do a cough or a sneeze or a snort, eyes roll in the back of its head. I mean, you'll know. But anyhow, rabbits on these size of breeds are not too bad on feed. If it came down to a situation that you had a small garden plot, a raised bed, you could probably sustain a couple rabbits on Timothy grass and clover that you would be able to cut, dry, and store. Outside of that, commercial feeds are pretty much the way to go. I don't use any antibiotics or anything like that on my rabbits. You know, I just keep them fed, keep them watered, which right now it's time feeding them watering time. There's the reason they're so excited and jumping towards the doors. Let's see. Things that can happen with rabbits is you can get mites in their ears and stuff. I mean, I've never had a problem with it. I've just always kept them plenty of room, plenty of air around them, and kept their cages up to date. I do not leave boxes in their cages because that allows them to defecate in them, and they'll use a box just like a cat would use a litter box. And when you get them in an environment like that, then, you know, you're looking at probably having problems with them jumping in and out of their feces all the time. Underneath, now mine, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so I just let them poop. The chickens come up here and scratch it out, and after a period of time, I'll come out here with the shovel and I'll scrape a lot of this up and put it onto the gardens. So that's another thing. You got excellent compost fertilizer from them. You know, as far as the breeds of rabbits, a lot of them I have is crossbreeds. She's like a California cross. You know, usually when they're spotted, I mean, they have specific breeds for most of them. But most of the people, unless you're going to pay some pretty big bucks to start out, a rabbit, you know, if it's a big parents, then you're going to have some pretty decent sized offspring. If you're starting out with the small ones, you know, they pretty much follow a line until you start crossing them. When I did start out, I had the New Zealands. A couple of them got given to me. I bred. They were such good mamas. I kept a baby off of them, and that's just kind of the way I do it. You know, when they show me some good traits about being a good mama, a good meat-sized rabbit, I try to follow those lines and pay attention to the ones, how I breed them. I want to get meat back out of them. So that's some ideas. This cage right here is nothing more than a shelter with a back on it and store-bought cages. I got a couple more cages over there that I use to transport, but they will fit in here. Right now I have more rabbits than normal because usually I only have about 4 does and 1 to 2 bucks. And the reason I keep 2 is that way if I breed and I got the offspring of those and I pick a select number of them that I want to raise up and breed, I've got a second buck to go ahead and do those with. It's non-related to any of the rabbits I have. On the other side of that, I guess you should have 1 buck to 5 does, and 5 does will produce a bunch of rabbits. Normal average litter will be somewhere between around 6, as many as 10, and usually if they have over 8, you're going to have some loss. And a lot of times on the fresh mamas, they only have 2 or 3, maybe 4, and it's not uncommon for them to not take care of their first batch of babies. I mean, they will let them die. I've had that pretty much, but you know, when they come back around again, within a month or so, I'll breed them again, and it seems like something happens in between that first and second breeding. They usually take real good care of their babies after that, and you know, if a mama goes, I'll let them go to lose their babies twice, and then after the 3rd time, if they lose their babies, then she's out. I won't spend any more time messing with her, no matter how sweet she is or good she is. Like I said, everything's got a job on the farm, whether it's chickens for selling. You know, these are banty chickens. That's a Danvers quail with a little banty rooster and another little set, which the reason they're in private cages because those roosters are kind of a little bit ornery. You know, these chickens out here, they sneak off and have babies. They take care of them, raise them up, and I will find them during the winter and I will catch them. And no, it's not a great big bird, but I do butcher them and they're free range. I don't feed them. They eat whatever on the ground until winter time, and I'll throw a little bit of scratch out, but you'll be surprised, even in the winter time, they'll go out and scrape up the goat poo out of the pen, and they'll find bugs and stuff in that. My other chickens out here, they are all pretty much production reds. I've got some had a couple Aracanas. They've got past their cycle, so we butchered them. Got a couple gray chickens that couldn't tell you what breed they are. I just picked them up out of a thing that was pullets. They do excellent job of producing eggs. Now all these are on about the 4th year cycle, so they're going on their downside this winter. They will become a lot of chicken and noodles, baked dishes, slow cook process. You know, you see anymore in the stores when you buy chicken and stuff, they talk about, you know, you cook them for 45 minutes, you cook them for an hour, and you talk about a lot of the old recipe books that talk about cooking a chicken for 2 or 3 hours at lower temperatures. The reason is because the new chickens are bred just for meat. They raise up super fast. They're butchered at 12 weeks or so, and you know, at that point they're tender meat. It's like a young steer. These, they have lived out a cycle of 4 years or better. They are going to be a tougher bird. So that's where some of your old recipes from your old cookbooks come from, is these older birds. It's just kind of what it takes to get them tender. Let's see, as far as rabbits go when breeding, you always take a female and bring her over to the male. And the reason is he's ready to breed. He's not territorial when it comes to a female coming in, but if you put a male over into a female's cage, you're going to watch fur fly. 9 times out of 10, that's just how it's going to happen. She will whip his butt. He wants to breed and she wants to fight. Might sound like home. But anyway, so you always bring the female over to the male, and if you put them in there and, you know, instantly a fight starts, she's not ready to be bred, so take her out, put her back over in her cage, reintroduce her the next day. If she don't breed that next day, do this for 3 or 4 days in a row. And if that doesn't happen, give her, you know, a few weeks and bring her back and try it again. Some rabbits are really funny. They'll lay down, they'll be bred. Other rabbits they just, I've got a female right here that when she's not ready, as soon as she hits the cage, she fights. Now, she'll fight one buck, and I'll take her a little bit later and put her in with another buck, and she'll go ahead and let him breed. And vice versa. That she bred with that buck the last time, so I put her in there with him first, and she'll fight him, and then half hour later, I'll put her in with one of these, and she'll breed with one of those. No rhyme, no reason. If you only got a small operation, don't hold on to a female like that. She's not worth it. Get her out of the cycle, get you another one in there to replace her. Like I say, 2 rabbits, 3 rabbits, you can breed them. I try to hold off and breed about every 3 months. And what I'll do is I'll have a breed. It takes 31 days for her to cycle her babies out. It'll take about the next 4 weeks or 6 weeks for them to wean off. I give her a couple weeks to rest, and then she's back into a breeding cycle again. So, you're talking about putting off somewhere between 6 and 8 rabbits every 3 months per rabbit, which ain't a whole lot, but you're not going to eat rabbit every single day. And if you're a small couple, if you're just a couple, 1 rabbit will feed a couple. If you have kids early on, I would eat a hind leg, my wife, and the back. My wife would eat a hind leg. She was happy with that. And my kids would actually nibble on the front legs because it's, smaller than a chicken leg, but when you got sides with it, it's high protein. It's plenty for them, and they done fine. So this is just some things about rabbits. Cages don't have to be extravagant. Wintertime, the cages look right now in the winter like they are right now. The only exception is this open cage that goes all the way through. I may put a piece of plastic on the far side just to keep wind from going through it. And on super cold nights, I may go ahead and throw boxes in and put some straw in there and let them use them during the winter. They're pretty good about not messing them up then. Other than that, as long as they're not in a direct wind, rabbits are very, very good about maintaining a body heat as long as they got a wind block. I'll throw a board in each one of them so they have a board to sit on this winter, and they will snuggle up against the back wall of their pen on top of that board. And I have not had any dead loss from winters. And here we get down to our coldest nights for the past few years probably have not been much lower than 5 degrees, maybe right at 0 Fahrenheit. But our averages are probably right around 12 to 15 degrees on the cold parts, and so it's not too bad. So here is kind of a little bit long video, but a lot of information and talk for a short time. Anybody got any questions, you can shoot them out there, throw them in a box, email me, or once you send me a PM, I'll give you an email. I don't want freaks and geeks. And anyhow, it's kind of like I said, a quick shot at some rabbits. I'm just a small operation. I provide food for myself. I do my mom and dad. I do have some extra in the springtime because, when you're breeding 5 or 6 of them up, I just go ahead and I sell off, and I have sell butchered and I sell just pet. But anyhow, we'll catch y'all later. Got any questions, shoot them to me.